Reaction, author of the brand new book, Witch Hunt, the story of the greatest mass delusion in American political history, out soon. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, Fox News investigative reporter Sarah Carter. Let me start with the question I was just asking John Solomon about. Okay, I think we all agree that we're going to get an IG report on Comey, his top secret information that they retrieved from his house a month after he was fired. The second one's going to be the IG on FISA abuse, premeditated fraud on a court. He thinks there'll be a third report and separate on leaking alone. That would be McCabe, Comey, perhaps, and others. And I believe that the work that they're doing abroad, and he's right, the Attorney General has signaled very clearly, and my sources have confirmed to me that there's been a lot of activity across the pond in terms of interviews, including Christopher Steele's 16 hours, and that we might have had high-ranking intelligence officials circumventing American law, spying on an American presidential campaign, transition, and presidency, and the counterintelligence investigation might go into the office of Barack Obama. Sarah.
You pretty much said it, Sean. This is a very expansive investigation on the part of John Durham, and Attorney General Barr has made that very clear. They want to know what happened at the very beginning of the FBI's probe into President Trump. And you brought up another very important point. And let's think about this. Stefan Halper. I spoke with Svetlana Lakova. Now, she is the British, Russian-born national who was basically tarnished in a number of news reports coming out of London that put her right in the middle of the whole Russia scandal. And she is accusing Stefan Halper of being the point man in that. And what's so fascinating is that he comes out in his attorneys say, look, if he was working for the U.S. government, they don't exactly say that he was a spy, but they say if he was, he would be granted immunity. And then they go on to say in the lawsuit, basically to Svetlana, look, he was paid over $500,000 by the U.S. government. And remember, that was the story about the Office of Net Assessment at the Department of Defense. So the Department of Defense was basically paying Stefan Halper and contracting him while he was apparently working for the FBI, spying on everybody over there from George Papadopoulos to Carter Page and God only knows what else. Now, Svetlana Lakova is accusing him of being the person to plant all of these false stories.
Unbelievable.
And he even goes as far as saying, even if we planted false stories, that's our right because we would have been working for U.S. intelligence. So just think about that and how that plays into this coup. Really, it was a soft coup against President Trump and how they're
100%.
all trying to protect themselves.
Okay. Do you see the 5 investigations, including John Solomon's belief that there'll be a separate leak investigation, and my belief that the work that Durham, interviewing Steele, and Barr are doing will be the tip of the iceberg in terms of the intelligence community? And do you agree with Andy McCarthy, Greg Jarrett, that if it was a counterintelligence investigation, that goes right into Barack Obama's Oval Office with him sitting there and approving it because it would have to be his?
Oh, absolutely. We already know that from a text message from Strzok to Page saying the White House wants to know everything we're doing on this. And that was in the late summer of 2016. When you run a counterintelligence op, it's for the benefit of the existing president, Barack Obama. He has to be informed of it. He receives the information on it. But it's more malevolent than that. After President Trump takes office, Comey continues a secret and corrupt counterintelligence investigation against the sitting president of the United States while he is lying to President Trump about it, assuring him that he is not the target of his investigation.
But the counterintelligence aspect of this had to come from Obama, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it did. And it came through the CIA director, John Brennan, and the DNI, James Clapper. So all of this was quite devious on the part of Comey's FBI and the Barack Obama administration, including the Department of Justice.
Right, let me ask
I think
you
you
this.
can see Nellie Orr receiving an indictment in her near future because she lied not once, but twice to Congress in her testimony, and there's already a criminal referral against her.
I'd like to see what happens to James Comey at the end of all this based on everything that you said. And yeah, he knew the whole time, and he lied in October and he lied in January, and then he signed 3 FISA warrants altogether. Now, I understand their argument, probably legally, Greg Jarrett's going to be, well, maybe on the first warrant, they trusted Christopher Steele because he was a good source in the past, but then they fired him before the renewal warrant. So I'm not.
And they had an obligation.
But they had an obligation to verify it, and they never did.
You must run to the FISA court and notify the judge who signed off on it that circumstances have changed, and we have fired the source upon whom we were relying. And by the way, FISA judge, he's not really a source. He was a purveyor of information from other sources, and we haven't even identified their names, much less the reliability of their information, which it turns out to have been phony disinformation.
And Sarah, add to that, it's unverifiable. Because not even Steele stands by it. And then the next part is when the FBI finally, in the spring of 2017, this is after 3 Comey warrants are signed, then they decided to look into, well, is it true? And then they found over, 90+%, probably likely 100, none of it was true.
Well, they knew all along when they launched the investigation, and they did so without specific articulable facts, which are required under FBI regulations.
Well, I was just going to say what Greg's saying, but look, they never cared whether it was true or not. I mean, the whole point appears to be based on every bit of evidence that we've seen, from the text messages to the emails to the documents produced by Judicial Watch, that from the very beginning, it didn't matter whether it was the truth or not. What they were doing was targeting Trump. And after he won the presidential election, after he became President Trump, they were moving into their insurance policy. And that insurance policy was to remove the president of the United States. And that's what it appears to be.
Sarah, Greg, thank you both. We are getting so close now. It's all coming.